Drop a beat.
This is how it starts.
Y'all didn't know I have a DJ name on the weekends?
We drop a different beat.
All right, it is time for the Funkast Blast.
Ooh, Funkast Blast. Funkast Blast. Pew. Pew, pew, pew.
Funkast Blast. Funkast Blast. Pew, pew, pew.
Today we won't chew into the mics this time.
Is that a better one?
That was awesome.
What's up, fanatics? Welcome to another episode of the Funko Funkast, the only official Funko podcast recorded at Funko HQ in Everett, Washington. I'm your host, Sully.
It's Ashley from work.
Matt Lattier here from licensing.
And we got Parker Dean from licensing as well.
Listeners of the Funkast might have noticed over the last few weeks that we've taken a break from our normal programming to introduce some new segments, including a Getting to Know segment, like we did with our friends at GameStop a few weeks ago while we were in Dallas. This week, we take it inside Funko as we talk to a couple members of our licensing team, as you might have noticed from the openings. And I'm joined by Ashley here to kind of even things out so it's not just a bunch of dudes sitting around a mic talking.
Yeah, okay. That's all right.
We're going to dive right in with Matt and Parker from the licensing team and ask a few questions. But to kick things off, I know you said your names already, but let's do a little deeper dive. Give us your name, give us your position here at the company, and how long you've been working for Funko.
All right. Well, thanks for having us. So Matt Lattier, I'm the assistant manager of brand and licensing here at Funko, and I've been here since August of last year, so just under a year.
Seems longer than that.
I don't know if that's a good
time,
comment or a bad. Man, you've been here forever.
In Funko time, I feel like that's 10 years. So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been an interesting year for sure, and we're so busy in licensing, especially that we don't really have time to relax for the most part.
Where were you before Funko?
So I was living in Waco, Texas for 2 years. Yeah, what a burger!
Yeah, we just talk about Texas a tiny little bit on the Funkast. Yeah,
it's funny. I stopped late last night at Dick's Drive-In here, and I'm like, it's good, but it's no Whataburger. Yeah, so I was living in Waco, Texas for the last 2 years. I'm from this area here, just around Everett, Washington, and so I was just doing sales down there. But before I moved, I was in licensing at Microsoft. So I work for Turn 10 Studios on the Forza Motorsport franchise.
Cool.
So, yeah, I'm definitely not a car guy. So I drove a Subaru at the time, like an Outback. So I would park my car in the back of the lot because everybody who worked there had really like nice cars. And I hid mine a few lots away. So, yeah, just gave the illusion that I walked.
How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me. I'm Parker Dean. I'm out here from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I was born and raised. Just started here at Funko about 10 months ago, July of 2018, and it's been an absolute blast so far. Me and Matt are on the same team here. I'm the licensing coordinator. Been managing a couple different categories for us, like ad icons, video games, and comics. And yeah, like you guys mentioned, it feels a lot longer than 10 months or so. And I feel like that's kind of a long tenure here for Funko. Everyone seems to be new as we're hiring new people, almost every week it seems like.
Yeah, we really have grown at a blistering pace over the last couple of years. I think I was employee number 300 and something, low 300s.
Crazy. And
now we're in like the 600s or 700s. I got to ask one of the new employees to find out what their number is. Moving on to the next section, something I did with GameStop and I'd like to do in future Getting to Know segments is the origin story. Tell us a little bit about, Matt, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about what brought you along your path from school, college, all the way through to working for Funko.
How much time do we have here? Oh, man. Yeah. My story to Funko is a little odd. I was a criminal justice major, so I had these large goals of being a federal agent. You know enough about me now. You look at me. I don't think I can pull that off. Maybe. So I actually, right out of college, I worked for the ATF as a grad assistant in the Intel unit. So I got to see a lot of really cool stuff I didn't want to see as well. But yeah, so that was kind of my career plan, and then it derailed. And I worked in the sports industry for a long time. So I worked for the Sonics before they left Seattle.
Did you know Tim?
I did know Tim.
Wow.
Yeah, Tim.
Small world.
I know. So yeah, I worked for the Sonics for a while. I've worked for the UW. I worked for the Mariners. Pretty much every sports team that we have here. yeah, was in sports for a while, and then managed to get a licensing gig in kind of the promotional merchandise world, working on sports accounts. So I did a lot with the Mariners and bobbleheads and things like that, running point on approvals, and just really liked licensing. It was really interesting. I think obviously with the amount of licenses we're carrying here at Funko, you don't think of all the work that goes into it, but I really kind of found a niche in it, and it made it easy to kind of move around the licensing world because not a lot of people have experience in it. They don't know what it is. And so with the Funko job, I figured I was going to move back from Texas and just started looking for licensing gigs, and Funko had one, applied, got a call 3 days later, and interviewed, moved back, and here I am. Worked out really well, and it's close to home.
And were you familiar with Funko as a brand before you came on board?
I was. I was a casual kind of consumer of Funko. My kids had a few, and obviously I was well aware of the company. I definitely watched the Netflix documentary the day before I started too. So as we all should.
The documentary really is a good training tool. I knew quite a bit about the company from being a fan and before I came on board, but watching the documentary after being here, even for over a year, I learned so much about the origin and the history of the company.
No, absolutely. And, what was great is just watching it with my kids. My kids think I'm the coolest dad ever now. I always tell people they just bribe me, so I'll bring them home stuff. We don't have any more room at this point. Well, I have a list that I brought in today
down
from
there
my
quite
son.
often.
Yeah, I am. Not as much as I used to. I've been cut off at home. But, yeah, I have a list at my desk right now that my son gave me. I have to pick up a bunch of stuff for a birthday, so it's convenient.
The secret is you don't bring everything into the house at once. You actually keep the bag in the car and slowly but surely trickle in items so people don't catch on.
Absolutely. Wow. We should start actually selling birthday cards as well, because that would be, I don't want to have to go two places.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hallmark, are you listening? Hallmark?
Parker, how about you? What's your origin story?
Yeah, so I've kind of always been career-wise in the licensing business and industry. I actually just graduated in 2018 in May from NDSU Roll Herd. But I had some experience with a couple brand management companies out in LA, Saban, who owns Power Rangers, and Paul Frank, amongst some other properties, and then a smaller company called Genius Brands International. Andy Hayward was the CEO, creator of Inspector Gadgets. That's a pretty cool experience to work with some companies. Saban, kind of the bigger corporation, global international brands, and then Genius Brands had a lot of YouTube-based content and web series. So it's a really cool dynamic to understand, how people are managing, licensing these brands, marketing these brands to a bunch of different audiences. And it was a really good experience there. And then I had the opportunity to intern in New York City with Beanstalk, who's a licensing agency, the third biggest licensing agency in the world. So they, work with anyone from Procter & Gamble, U.S. Army, Diageo, which was Guinness, Bailey's, Captain Morgan, Johnny Walker. I was 21 at the time. It wasn't the worst gig ever. Got a couple free samples every now and then. And, just kind of really fell in love with the whole licensing business, being able to kind of shape and form what a brand's going to look like outside its core, areas. I think a really, really cool opportunity. And, here at Funko, having some, probably I think the most licenses in the world in the consumer products, business gives you an opportunity to work with so many different companies and so many cool brands and, things that you're a fan of. I'm really jealous of Matt all the time as I'm a big sports fan. So, he's...
Yeah, for other reasons.
But being able, when the NFL office and the NBA office are calling Funko, they're calling him, and I think that's a really, really cool thing that he gets to work hand in hand with them. So, it's a lot of fun and exciting things always happening here at Funko, and it's fun when we have an idea and we can go out and get it and turn it into a Funko Pop and see it all over the world.
You're a lucky man. Your trajectory right out of college was just. Whew.
Yeah, you didn't have to work any sorry, you're gonna have to bleep that jobs.
Yeah, it's been a really cool opportunity. My mother, who's actually spent 30 years at Target for licensing, definitely a big role and why I got interested in the business. And she's done a lot of fun and cool things through her career, and it's definitely part of the reason I'm here today.
It really is astounding to me. I had a realization at New York Comic Con last year, or the year before. I was standing in the middle of the floor and looked around, and I realized that every single person there was there because of a license. Whether they had something, a brand that they were licensing, or they were a company that was then licensing that brand from them to put on a product, Funko included. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on. We had Lauren Winarski on when she was pretty much the only member of the licensing team back early, probably like episode 4 of the Funko Funkast. And it really was time that we revisited a chat about licensing. I know fans always asking questions, and this is a great way to get some answers that aren't short form, quick tweets.
Well, I think it's good too, just to let listeners know, like, we hear their requests, like, why haven't you made this, and this, and it's not that easy. You can't just reach out to Lady Gaga on Twitter and be like, hey.
I mean, you can.
I mean, you
just
can,
never
but
hear
it's,
back.
yeah,
I mean,
so it's stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think for us, obviously, so I didn't mention the accounts that I work on. So I work on music, sports, and then anime and some other live studio things. But yeah, I mean, we definitely, when something's thrown at us and we get direction from the top to go after, we feel the pressure to get it. We know the fans want it, so we definitely try. And obviously, there's licenses that we don't have. But to your point, Ashley, we've tried.
Yeah, like
and we're having those conversations.
Nintendo.
I was about to say Nintendo's a great example. I think
Yeah.
they're obviously a lot of fans all over the world, and I know we have fans reaching out to you guys each and every day probably, and it's just something that we're working on and we're trying, and hopefully someday we can make that happen.
Since we breached the subject, we should just dive right into that part of the conversation. I know our fans don't all necessarily understand what goes on behind our products, and that licensing is a key element, a requirement of all the products that we make. We've got to have sign-off from the owner of those properties. So could you give us kind of an overview, an outline, if you will, of the steps involved and the time from the moment that we decide we want to approach a licensor about making a product for their license to product getting approved, maybe even all the way to making it on shelves?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, when we get direction, we have to identify who holds the license. And that sometimes can be the hardest part, especially with a lot of the nostalgia-driven movies and brands that we work with. We have to, whether it's a small movie from the 80s that Brian says, hey, let's go get this, we have to figure out who has the rights. A lot of those studios are defunct now too, so you kind of have to do this link analysis and this trail of so-and-so had the rights, they don't have them anymore, but this company now does or maybe does. And so, yeah, you make a lot of phone calls and you send a lot of emails just to try and figure out who has the rights before you can even have a conversation a lot of times.
But I think, here at Funko, it is nice that we work with such a wide variety of, brands, that we do work with a lot of the agencies that, have, licensing rights for, a lot of these brands. So being able to, reach out to, a Global Icons or an IMG or, whoever it may be that has, connections or either has, a broad list of, personalities or IPs that they, are the agent for, it makes it, at least in some cases a little easier. As Matt mentioned, it can get difficult and some rough waters at times.
So I imagine there are some licenses that do this all the time, like a Saban, who license out Power Rangers for everything under the sun. But then there are probably some that you approach that, like you said, you got to track them down. Maybe this is not something they've thought of doing before. We approach them, and this is something entirely new for them.
Yeah, I know it's happened. I mean, we're in a good spot here at Funko where people want to work with us, and so we get a lot of just interest, like, hey, come work with us. We would love to see it, especially in music. As we put out more and more music, we have artists saying, oh, I think I should probably be a part of that in some way. So definitely have a lot of those conversations. The sports business for us is pretty constant. We know when the seasons are going to start, so We try and plan around that. But yeah, there are definitely leagues we're not working with. But yeah, I think music for me has been the most challenging just because I think, a lot of artists do get it and there are some that don't. But I think people are coming around, and there are certain genres within music that I think, we're working to kind of build up as well so we can kind of hit that broader audience. But yeah, we're in a good spot. People want to work with us for the most part. So we love having the conversations, especially when the folks you're talking to on the other end are so excited to be talking to you. And
I think that's
fun.
part of the coolest part, as Matt alluded to, is we do work with a lot of people that are fans of Funko. And so when you get someone, we'd love to see, this character or this person in a pop, you can hear the excitement on their side, and it just makes you want to, be able to close that deal and, create a license and obviously have some Funko product in the near future. So it's really fun when you reach out and you just get a whole group of people on the other side of the line that are like, we love Funko.
I could probably just look at your desk to get a pretty good idea of the answer to this next question, but do you guys have any favorite fandoms of yours, maybe things that you were a big fan of before you even came on board with Funko?
Yeah, definitely. As I kind of alluded to earlier, I'm a big sports fan in general, so, again, jealous that Matt's the main contact for all the sports people. But when looking at, TV series and things like that, Rick and Morty, I think, is, one of the absolutely funniest shows that's ever been on air. It's just so creative and so unique with the way they come through on their punchlines. I'm sitting there laughing, throughout the whole episodes. And then obviously Game of Thrones, with the relevance right now, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah, I think for me, I like to try to collect the things that I work on. So I have a lot of music on my desk. So Notorious B.I.G. was like my first buy when I started here. I think those look so great. And then I've been a huge champion of the Post Malone license. Who doesn't love a tattooed face? But I think that one looks great. And even looking at like the BTS craze right now and seeing how nuts those fans are, like I love seeing that. Obviously we have NSYNC and Backstreet Boys on the horizon as well. So I dabble in a little boy band fandom. I'm not ashamed. I'll be seeing Backstreet Boys here in a couple months here in Everett. Come to work Monday and then make a little walk down.
Yeah, the Post Malone pop was just overwhelming. Honestly, when we first revealed it at Toy Fair, we knew that it would be popular, but we really didn't have any idea the extent, the detail on that pop, the art behind it, the tattoos, the little red Solo cup, just outstanding.
Yeah, and truthfully, his team was so easy to work with. He was super eager to have one, and yeah, the approvals were pretty seamless there. So yeah, I love that people love him. I think he's great.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Great. It's currently that Post Malone pop's currently the background on my phone. The image you guys took was just really cool, and as you guys mentioned, just the details on it with the face tats their team let us have a lot of flexibility and kind of take our Funko creativity and use it to its advantage. And I think when people let us do that, our products turn out great almost every single time, and it was really exciting to see that one as a fan of Post Malone go from concept to physical product and now in market.
I know we get asked this question quite a bit, and I've given some answers. I hope I'm giving the right answer. How long does it typically take from the time that we approach or are approached about doing a pop for a license to it actually getting approved and then getting made?
I think it depends on the person. When you have someone again that's eager to work with you, they're interested in the Funko brand and excited. It can take less than a week to almost get a contract in front of you at least. Obviously, you have to negotiate that contract terms along those lines. But sometimes we're reaching out to people for 5-6 months straight, if not longer, just trying to rail them in and at least have the discussion, let us pitch you the brand and stuff like that. So I think it varies depending on the IP and the person it is, but. It's out. The chase is always fun, and finally when you get that yes to send them an offer and work through the contract stages, it's pretty rewarding, and see those products come to life is pretty awesome.
Yeah, Matt, those pops that you have on your desk must serve as trophies or achievements for the different licenses that you've managed to bring on board.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially, again, with Post Malone when he came out, I've been bugging product development as soon as they got samples of that to bring one down to my desk. So I was geeking out when I got it. But yeah, no, I think with the music side too, kind of to Parker's point on how long it takes, if you're trying to pitch to a musician or an act, and they're on tour, you're going to wait. It just, the timeline gets longer. So yeah, we try to obviously get answers as quick as we can, but we also know there are things kind of outside control. If somebody's, shooting a music video or recording an album or, like I said, on tour, it's really tough to kind of get them to sit down and focus and look at something. So unfortunately, we wait in a lot of instances for sure. So
do you find it harder to work with estates as opposed to current musicians?
I think it varies. Obviously we've done a lot with Prince, and we put out some great product. But I think once you do one figure, they understand it. Yeah. So obviously with Prince, we've done multiple. So you're not sending them something to look at or pitching them on something they maybe don't understand. So Prince is getting there because, like I said, I think they like the product at this point and they understand it. But yeah, I mean, it's 50-50 with the estates. And obviously we want to respect that they're making decisions on behalf of someone. Yeah. So we try to be mindful of that. But yeah, Notorious B.I.G. has been super easy. I think everything we do is meant out of respect too.
Yeah,
we're not putting out figures that we don't believe in and that the fans don't want. So I think, like I said, just being mindful of that. So
in the licensing process, that's really just a discussion more about the products themselves, right? But not actual art. Are there times where you have to have the art developed in order to get the license?
Yeah, definitely on the music side, a lot of the artists want to see a concept just because they want to see themselves in pop form. So we definitely do a lot of concepts. Our creative team is so good as well, and a lot of times that's all you need to kind of get somebody to say, okay, yeah, I can definitely see this and I want this. So, it's case-by-case basis, obviously. We don't have the bandwidth necessarily to do concepts on every single but yeah, definitely if it's a license we want, and we have great ideas, that creative team is amazing at getting that together for us, for sure.
And just to tag on that is, like Matt mentioned earlier, when you have all these, big up and coming, artists and, producers or whoever they may be, they start seeing all, other people's pops come out and they're like, dang, I want one of those. And all of a sudden, they may have turned us down before and now they're coming back and, hey, we're definitely interested now. And so it's kind of fun to see that when that happens as well.
I love that signing one band and getting them their pop then leads to other bands who are like, ooh, I got to have mine now.
You see over these past, couple of years, especially how Funko's just continue to grow and, all the publicity and, all the acquisitions that we've made to go into different categories. People are really starting to understand the Funko brand, what we can do and, how much it is really loved outside of, maybe just the TV series or the nostalgia. You can really start to break into these other categories. And again, it's awesome to to go into so many categories and work with so many people. And it just keeps the interest keeps increasing. I think day by day, week by week.
One of the questions that we get from fans a lot is, how is it decided which characters we make for a line or which of the figures will become chases for that line? Do you guys have any insight as to how that works? Is it part of the licensing process for you?
I think I definitely give advice, but, we have a team that obviously, looks at kind of every character, whether it's in a show or a movie, and kind of determines, obviously working with the licensor on kind of what figures make sense. I don't know that anybody listens to me when I tell them what I want, but, it doesn't stop me by any means. But yeah, no, I think obviously too, the great thing about Funko is there's a fan of everything here. You just have to walk around. And so we can get advice even when we're going after a license, like an anime license, for instance. I don't know a lot about anime. I'm trying, but just not a world that I've lived in. And so we'll ask the creative team and some of the guys who are big anime fans, like, hey, I'm looking at going after this license. What do you think we could do from a line list perspective? Do you watch it? Do you think there's a need for product in the market for it? So yeah, we definitely ask the experts around here for sure.
It is honestly amazing the level of different fandoms that you see when you walk around this building.
Yeah, you just walk around and look at desks and you're like, okay, I know what you're into.
Yeah, it's definitely not hard to figure that out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It really is the ultimate representation of a person when you walk around this building and it's like, hey, look at me. Everything on my desk, this is me.
Well, and the great thing with our business cards is we pick a couple figures for them, so it's no secret that I'm a Saved by the Bell fan. I have Zach Morris on my business cards, so
Might possibly have the coolest business cards in the world.
yeah. So I have Ken Griffey Jr., Zach Morris, and then the dude Big Lebowski.
As I mentioned, a big sports fan. So being the Minnesota guy, I'm a big hockey fan. So I got Zach Parise, the Minnesota Wild.
Who?
I had to throw, the notorious Conor McGregor on there. I think, the pop we created of him was really, really cool. Him, doing his fun walk that he's got. And then being from NDSU, I got Carson Wentz, the Eagles starting quarterback now, alumni of, the same great school. And now he's dominating the NFL. So I love to see that.
Is he, though? I mean, he's on the bench a lot, so...
Nick Foles, anybody?
Big comeback year here. He's had some troubles with some injuries, but us Midwesterners work hard, get back after him. He'll be in the promised land, no doubt.
Bold predictions indeed. I don't think we've talked about this before. Ashley, what's on your business card, or who's on your business card?
I have Captain Marvel, Sabrina, and Betty from Riverdale.
There definitely is a common theme there.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of embraced the brand. I've got Sully, Pops, Storbs, Pints as Heroes.
It makes sense.
You definitely are.
Yeah, I'm due for a third round of business cards. I'm not sure what'll be on the next one, but got to start thinking of that now.
Yeah, here and there. I'll probably go sports mascots next time.
I was actually going to say thank you for those MLB mascots. Those are amazing, and the fans absolutely love them.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're
well,
amazing.
and the great thing with mascots is they're not typically traded. So, that's one of the challenges on sports is, obviously knowing who's a free agent and trying to plan. So, yeah, mascots are pretty constant.
Could you imagine if teams did trade mascots?
That'd be funny.
That'd be kind of weird.
Everybody'd have to buy new gear every time.
Yeah. Who would we trade the Mariner Moose for? I don't even know.
We wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm still a Houston Astros fan at heart, so Orbit, he just makes sense. He needs to stay in Houston.
I took a quiz the other day asking like how many mascots you knew if they were wearing pants or not, and most of them don't. I got a lot of them wrong.
Fun fact of the day.
Yeah, fun fact.
Winnie the Pooh.
So if you never thought of that, most of them don't wear pants.
For now.
For now.
Give it a few years, and we're going to put pants on them all. So that can be our Chase version.
Yeah.
Orbit wearing pants.
He doesn't wear pants. I don't think the Phillies mascot wears pants.
He
either.
definitely doesn't wear pants.
Yeah.
Outside of Funko products, which I'll clearly collect, are there any other things that you're into that you collect?
I collect bourbon, so I'm a big bourbon fan. I went in Waco. I ran a whiskey club. It's just a social club. We got together once a month, drank bourbons, rare stuff.
So when you say collect, do you mean you actually have that in bottles at home, or is that just some sort of way to describe how you drink it?
A little bit of both. No, I collect. I gave away about 100 bottles when I moved here, but I still have about 150 plus bottles at home. Yeah, not as much as I used to.
Do you have a specific bottle that like on this day, if that happens, busting that out?
No, I don't discriminate. I pretty much just, if I'm in the mood, I'll open it. I actually went over to childhood friends last night and drank a bunch of rare stuff. So I'm in fine form this morning, but yeah, I love it. I enjoy it. I love the history around it and kind of the stories. I'm actually going to do the Bourbon Trail this year in Kentucky, and I've never done it. That's been on my bucket list. So, yeah, I would say that's kind of my fandom outside of work for sure.
Oh, that's cool. How about you, Parker?
Collection-wise, not too deep in any particular category. I think, more fandoms, as I think I brought up about 100 times today. Just a big sports fans, all thing Minnesota sports, so the Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota Wild, the Twins and the Wolves. Just a big sports fan. So all day, every day, I'll go home and right now we got the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs going on. So it's a great time to be a sports fan.
Do you like venturing out and visiting new ballparks and arenas?
Yeah, that's something I've done. I've had the chance to go to a couple different parks around the country. While I've been out here, I've had the chance to go to T-Mobile Park. I got to go to the Vikings-Seahawks game last year. So it's always fun going to a new place, new destination, seeing, the crowd there and the atmosphere at these different places. one of my favorite places to go was Madison Square Garden. Obviously, with the history of that, was unbelievable. I got to go for a New York Rangers playoff game, and being a hockey fan again, it was just an unreal experience. And definitely looking to travel to a couple more places and see a couple more stadiums.
I've had the privilege to visit 25, 30 different parks over the years, and Fenway by far is the coolest of all sporting venues, hands down. I've even been to the Coliseum.
I have not been to Fenway Park. I did go to a Yankees-Red Sox game at Yankee Stadium, though, so that was definitely a fun one.
Aren't the seats like 6 inches wide, though?
They really were built for a 1920s or 19 teens human being.
I'd be fine there.
Just the right size.
Yeah.
It is truly amazing. You walk into that stadium and you feel the nostalgia, the history of baseball. It's honestly a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it's on my list, and I'd love to go to Wrigley as well.
Me too.
I mean, the thing with the Yankees and the Red Sox is anytime they come to town here in Seattle, you're basically at a Red Sox or Yankees game.
Dodgers,
because their fans
Toronto,
travel so well.
And the Cubs, for sure. I mean, they have worldwide fans.
They don't come here very often, thankfully.
It really was perfect to have Ashley guest host on this one because she's always asking for more sports talk on the Funcast.
She's rocking the Mariners jersey right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, now I got a few random questions for you, questions that we tackle on the Funcast regularly, and we did this with GameStop. Parker, we'll start with you. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Does pineapple belong on pizza? I'm going to have to go with no here. I think you can throw a lot of things on pizza.
Absolutely correct.
I think you can throw a lot of things on pizza, but fruit, that's a bit ambitious, I believe. Stick to your meats and veggies, a couple spices, but I'm going to have to stick with no here.
That's a terrible answer. I completely disagree. I'll preface this by saying I'm not a huge pizza fan, but I know
cheese and carbs.
Yeah. No, I think pineapple fits just perfectly. It's a nice tropical twist to a classic. So absolutely.
I love pineapple and I love pizza, but they do not belong.
See, that's the thing. I'm a big fan of pineapple as well, but by itself, it's good. You just leave
grilled
it to itself.
Pineapple is delicious.
Yeah. Throw that on the barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
What if you grilled pineapple and then put it on a pizza? Would it be better?
No.
It can't hurt.
All right, next question, and I'll start with Matt on this one. I think I might know your answer already, but what is your favorite, or what do you consider the best fast food burger?
You're just steering him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love Whataburger. I'm a fan of Chick-fil-A, too. I had this talk with Parker the other day. We went out for Cuban sandwiches yesterday, and he said no pickle. And so I went into just this whole manifesto on why pickle belongs. And Chick-fil-A, just such a simple sandwich. Bun, chicken, little 2 kisses of pickles.
2 kisses of pickles.
2 kisses of pickles.
That's a title.
It's just, it's perfect.
I always want Chick-fil-A on a Sunday, and then I'm like,
yeah.
And then,
Well, that's the problem with living in Texas is everything is closed on Sundays.
Oh.
And so, and it's a problem.
Up here in Everett, it's Mondays that everything's closed. But, I have a pitch for Chick-fil-A that would solve this problem, because inevitably you're going to drive over there anyway. What if they put vending machines out in front of the stores that had pre-cooked sandwiches that you could then just take home and cook or microwave?
Start it up. I think that's the way to go.
You just pitched it.
Chick-fil-A probably listens to this.
Investors,
Funcast.
please call in.
Yeah, I know Whataburger listens. They love us. In addition to that, I did see at the airport that Sprinkles Cupcakes has vending machines.
I don't think I've ever been in an airport and said, man, I need a cupcake that bad that I wish there was a vending machine.
Any cupcake vending machines around here?
Until you see that vending machine that has cupcakes in it.
I don't really like buying food out of a vending machine in general, so...
What does it do? Does it just kind of like...
It's in a box, so the cupcake, there's a conveyor belt that comes up to the level of the cupcake slides out, cupcake goes across, you can't see the hand gestures here, this doesn't really work for audio, but the conveyor belt brings the cupcake over and then slowly lets it down an elevator to the level where you can take it out of the machine.
I think it'd be better if it just
Sounds
went
fake.
down a chute like a Coke can and you get it and you're like,
it's just
what?
this mess.
Oh, thank you, sir. All right, we got off the subject here for a minute, but Parker, favorite fast food burger?
Favorite burger fast food place? I think the always reliable In-N-Out is such a good
agree.
place to go. You definitely get your cost $1. You can go get a burger, fries, and a shake for $7, and everything's delicious in that bag that you receive out the drive-through window. And I think you go with the animal style burger there at In-N-Out. It's hard to beat.
I was going to ask if you knew about the animal style. Of course you do.
I feel like everybody knows that. It's not even a secret anymore. Just put it on the menu.
Yeah,
just put it on the
that's true.
menu.
Just add it.
Yeah.
You gotta go, but you gotta
not
go
always
no
gonna
pickles.
remember
You
to
gotta go
ask.
no pickles.
This next question might be a little loaded, and I want to preface by saying this is not a confirmation or leak of anything to come, merely a discussion. But do you guys have any particular licenses or figures that you would love to see Funko make in the pop form, or even some of our other lines that hasn't been made to date?
I think something that I've been pitching since the day I walked in was a Ninja Tyler Blevins, the video game streamer. As the manager of the video games category, I just feel he'd be such a unique person. Funko hasn't really dove into the streamers, influencers, these YouTube stars that are now just becoming so big. I think you look at his YouTube page, and in under 12 months he went from less than 500 subscribers on YouTube to now 20 million plus. And I just think that kind of shows the reach he has. I think what's great about him is he's got the blue hair, he's got the pink hair, he's got his bandana he throws on when he wins, and now he's just such a unique look, which I think makes the Funko Pop that much easier to do. So I think that would be a really 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 cool pop, and I hope to see that one in the near future for sure.
Yeah, that's something we actually talk about quite a bit when we're theorizing about different licenses. They need to stand out and be something different, or else it's just another dude, like with him, like a bright colored hair,
Yeah, and I think that's something just in every IP we try to figure out if if you can take it out of the box. I know we shouldn't be taking pops out of the box, but some people
That's a
tend to
debate
do
right there.
You out of boxer, you.
Some people tend to do that, and when you can take the figure out of the box, away from the branding, and still have that recognizable figure and understand what it is, I think that just does so much more for the brand and the product itself. And as I mentioned, I think he's got such a unique look and such a wide reach with just tons and tons of fans. And you saw he was on the ESPN cover. He was on the Ellen Show. He's streaming at New Year's Eve ball drop in New York City, at Lollapalooza. He's all over the place, and so I think that'd be a really really cool pop to create for sure.
You make a really good point about being able to remove the pop from the box and still easily tell what the figure is. I never really heard it said before, but it makes perfect sense. How about you, sir?
Seinfeld is my all-time favorite, so I would love to see.
I liked Matt.
Yeah, some Seinfeld pop. You guys have seen the Ace Ventura jacket that I have at my desk. Yeah, that would be cool.
We did Ace Ventura years ago.
Yeah, I think you'd bring it back for sure. I honestly, I think of some of the cartoons I watched as a kid. Captain Planet. Yeah, I'd love to see that. You remember the old gummy bears too? Bouncing here and there. Yeah, we are the gummy bears. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, I think living in Texas the last 2 years, I got really into country music just because you have to be. So I really want to.
If you're not, you should get into it anyways.
Yeah,
Not for me.
I'm in. I'm all in. So I would love to. As far as music goes, I'd love to see kind of us build up country music. I know Garth Brooks would be awesome. Lauren, our manager, is a huge Garth Brooks fangirl. So huge, yeah, huge. Well, and she's a Notre Dame fan. He performed there. I think they televised it months ago, and then her head almost exploded. Garth at Notre Dame.
Wow, I did not know that. Have we made a single country western star?
I mean, we have Johnny Cash coming out. He's kind of in that vein for sure. But yeah, we don't have a lot. But
Really love Johnny Cash. Walk the Line, such a great
he's
movie.
great.
So another question for you guys: is there a moment that you've had at Funko? Like Parker, you talked about how cool it is that Matt gets to jump on these phone calls with these different sports figures and organizations. Is there a moment that stands out, a amazing, aha, I can't believe this is happening moment that you've experienced during your time here at Funko?
Yeah, I think I actually started, I think, just about 2 months before Matt did. So our licensing team here in Everett was only 2 people. It was just Lauren and I. And I think my 3rd day on the job, I was taking a call with the NBA, and I was the only one from Funko on the call. So that was kind of like, holy crap, this is a really, really cool opportunity. And again, we just get to work with so many cool partners and so many people that have international presence, well-renowned brands, and to be able to be the contact they're calling when they're calling a company is a really, really cool opportunity. And again, it's just to be a fan of so many things. You get to interact with so many things you grew up loving or you're a current fan of, and it's just a really, really cool opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and I think kind of to that point, like Parker said, he was on a call with the NBA, and he's in awe of the NBA and that he's talking to them. But we have to remember that they're on the other end doing the same thing. Yeah. They love Funko and are big fans of what we do. So we're both fangirling, on each side for sure.
And it's definitely, when either, Brian's like, oh, go get this property or, whatever it may be. And you're like, yes, I love that one. And then you get excited. You get to go, reach out, try to find who owns the license and, try to create the partnership there. And it's really exciting. And I think that's part of the reason I'm in licensing, just to be able to, work with so many people and have the opportunity. It's been awesome.
Has there been a license that you worked on that you knew nothing about prior to that made you circle around and become a fan of that license?
I think, with a lot of brands and that you start working with, you just learn more about in general. You're understanding the style guides, their plans, what they've got coming. I think that's one of the cool parts is, when we're, a new game release is coming out or, new movies coming out, we get to, obviously keep some things confidential, but we get to learn about these things. And when you're a fan and you hear, oh, so-and-so's launching a new game, the fan inside you gets excited, and, it makes it really fun to work with.
I think for me, I think the biggest category I work on that I need some work on understanding is probably anime. Just, again, not a world I live in, but it's so huge, and it's growing in popularity through, like, Latin America as well. And so it's pretty fun to see how nuts people are internally about anime. And I mean, we're getting pitches from the creative team like, hey, you guys should do this. Here, I already put the line list together for you. so into it. Yeah, they're really into it. So yeah, I think that's a category for me that I have a lot to learn on. But yeah, I think music wise, anytime I'm working on securing somebody, I'll throw them on Spotify and just, get into the groove. Got to.
So is that why you were only listening to Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys for a while there?
I bought the Britney Spears Poppin' Tea. I have no shame.
Yeah.
So, and Backstreet Boys is always on, so it doesn't matter whether we're working with them or not. They're a staple.
All right.
I actually listened to a remastered version of "I Want It This Way" this morning on the way in.
Wow.
Yeah, the 4K version.
Yeah.
I have to admit that prior to working at Funko, I had not seen Rick and Morty. And finally, because of being around the products and the license, I was like, I got to check this out, and listening to coworkers. And from the time I started watching it, just fell in love with it.
That seems like something you would have loved from the get-go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, interesting you bring that up, because I remember my first interactions were with Rick and Morty where, just at my college house with my roommates, I'd always have it on, and I'd kind of look at it and be like, this is the dumbest show ever. Like, why do you guys like that? And then, throughout the time of just sitting in the room and, glancing at it, paying attention, I'm like, this show is absolutely hilarious. It's awesome, and I became a huge fan since. As Sully mentioned, you can kind of tell who's collecting what and what you're a fan of by just walking by someone's desk. And on my desk over there, I got quite the Rick and Morty portfolio going.
Anything Cartoon Network makes is usually fantastic.
I've never even seen Rick and Morty, but like I'm a fan of just the characters, and so yeah, I definitely,
Pickle Rick.
yeah, I've definitely,
Mr. Poopy Butthole.
Yeah,
we say more.
Come on. Well, my kids think that's the funniest thing. They're like, "What's his name again, Dad?" Yeah, I know exactly.
Noob is also hilarious.
Yeah, Noob is great.
Thanks, Noob. Yeah, I do know for a fact season 4 coming up soon. I know for a fact that the folks over at Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland and the team are big fans of Funko.
Win-win.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool brand for us to work with. They've given us a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things and create a lot of different products for them. So as a fan, I love that because I just keep collecting.
I think you both did a good job of describing your current roles and your challenges and what you get excited about. And I don't know, our fans are always asking us licensing questions, so I think it's good to have you guys on and kind of bring some more light, because I don't know if they always believe us.
Right. So, yeah, we're trying.
I don't know that they believe us either.
Yeah,
So.
I think the thing to bring up is we do have, a lot of people reach out. You get like, for me, it's smaller video games or, smaller TV shows, and it's me and Matt, we take every call if someone's reaching out. We love to, at least have a conversation, because again, some of these opportunities you may not, know about, and all of a sudden, it's Bob Ross and it's blowing up and it's selling off the shelves and it's going crazy. So I think it's really cool for us to, listen to, especially some of the smaller brands that maybe aren't as heard of. And then, all of a sudden it's a license we're doing and you see the success it has. And so it's definitely interesting to, see what turns out and what doesn't.
Yeah, things happen so fast now. A call that you might turn down one week could be the hottest, newest, most trending thing 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and that's how we communicate it. I don't say no to calls. I have a lot of calls, and my LinkedIn profile is pretty busy, so I get a lot of requests there. But like you said, a no now is not necessarily a no in 6 months.
Yeah.
And so just the way
we always say that to fans, like, well, we're not, don't have anything to speak on that now, but you never know.
You never know.
No idea.
One of the ways that questions are often posed to us by fans is, will you ever make? And it's honestly an impossible question to answer. We could say no, but then people will take that as that means we'll never make it. We could say maybe, and someone might see that as a confirmation. You can ask for things. We encourage fans to go onto Twitter and use the hashtag AskFunko to tell us the licenses that they're interested in, and that if we see a license mentioned enough times by enough different people, we elevate that up the chain, and I think eventually that comes around to you guys and effectively starts the process of seeking out a license we don't currently have.
Yeah, and I think on the music side, there's the right time to approach, especially when we're working with estates. You want to there's a timeline, and you want to give the estate time and release something at the right time as well. So I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. I would love to see Tom Petty at some point, and I think that'd be cool. I'm a huge fan.
All right, we're almost out of time for today, but before we wrap things up, do want to give you guys a chance to jump in on something we like to do on the Funcast, and that is our sign-off. We each have a unique one. Mine is Nerds Unite, kind of a favorite saying, a mantra, if you will.
Mine is like not important to me and random. I just say I will not be tamed.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have something like that would be your sign-off for the Funcast?
I think just being the big Minnesota Vikings fan I am, I'm gonna sign off with the good old Skull Vikings.
I'm gonna show a little love to Notorious B.I.G. His famous saying is "Spread love, it's the Brooklyn way. Spread fun, it's the Funko way, folks."
There you go.
Trademark that. That.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to all say ours at the same time. Another kooky thing we do in the Funcast. So I'm going to count down from 3, and you guys are all going to say it. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Spread love, it's the Funko way.